the agenda. Under unfinished business, item 3, I would like to add lower Carter Bridge discussion and approval of the resolution of the MOU for lower Carter Bridge. I would also like to add under new business, and I'll make this the last thing, item 6, a quick discussion, no action, but a discussion on budget amendments.
Chairman, there's 2 items from Mountain Bike Community. One would be Board of Commissioners to grant a letter of support for an application for the Gilmer County to become an IMBO Ride Center, bronze level, International Mountain Bike Association, a lot of publicity and so forth and so on, and just a letter of support. And then the other would be, we've been invited, the 3 of us, to go tour a facility in Cherokee County, Blankets Creek, that has been done as a trail system and so forth. And commissioners down there can share their thoughts if y'all want to do that. So those 2 items, just brief discussion of those 2 decisions.
Okay. Where would you like to go to speak?
Wherever you like.
Okay. Let's. Why don't we just put those right behind the budget amendment we just had?
Item 7 and 8.
Yeah.
Will work.
Any other changes to the agenda? And I would make a motion that the agenda be approved with those modifications.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the first item of unfinished business will be an update to the Cherry Lock Fire Station.
Well, we were beginning our wind down process, and everything was moving along nicely, and Murphy showed us that I actually had a discussion with Charlie a few weeks ago, so I was bragging too early that we didn't have any major hiccups. About 6 weeks ago, we discovered a pretty significant electrical issue with the project. During the planning phase of the process, before the project started, we had discussed with the power company the need for 3-phase power. And it being a rural area, there is 3-phase power in the area, but not down the side, not everywhere. So our initial discussion with them was when they moved our power poles for us, they would run 3-phase power. It's about 100 yards from where we're at. Unfortunately, the engineer that we started the planning phase with the power company was not the engineer that oversaw the actual moving of the power poles. So that information never got relayed to the engineer that oversaw the project. That being said, we discovered it about 6 weeks ago that the 3-phase power had not been run. The building was already wired, everything was ready to go. So we had to stop everything and decide, all right, are we going to run the 3-phase power, or are we going to switch the building back to single phase? And we had to figure out which one was cheaper. Initially, the power company was willing to do it for us at no charge because they were already going to be there moving the poles. Now it's a new project and they wanted to charge us for it. So we got pricing on the single phase to switch the building over to single phase or pay the power company to run us 3-phase. Initially, it looked like the single phase was going to be the much cheaper route to go. The power company wanted right at just under $20,000 to run a 3-phase to us. So that was the cheaper route. That was the instructions we gave. Once we gave those instructions, the orders made it back up to the electrical manufacturer, and the electrical manufacturer said, whoa, wait a minute. We've already built all this equipment for you, custom made, it's ready to go. 3-phase, we'll be happy to switch to single phase, but we can't not charge you for the work we've already done. So now it came back and it looked like it was going to be right about the same price to do either or, which made more sense at that point to say, all right, if we're going to do it, we might as well build it as the building was designed. That being said, Tony has reached out to the CEO of the power company, explained our situation to him, and they have not come back with a firm price, but they said they will work with us, and they will get it discounted for us as much as they possibly can.
Let me ask you though, the miscommunication itself was within the power company.
It was. It was.
I don't follow why they shouldn't make it good.
Well, they were initially, and I've had this discussion, but their initial offer was a favor to begin with. So to not charge us, they were basically saying, hey, we were there, we'll do it for you. They didn't do that. It's hard, it would kind of be hard to say, hey, you didn't do us that favor. You didn't do it for free. I mean, we could, but it just didn't, it doesn't seem right to say you were going to do this for free for us. Why can't you still do it for free for us? But they were looking at it as, hey, we're already going to be there. We don't have to mobilize. We don't have to pay additional man hours. We're already going to be there. Let's do it. And now they're looking at it as, hey, we have to remobilize. We have to pay more man hours to come do it. But that being said, all of this has taken, to get worked out, has taken about 4 additional weeks. And that's on us. That's not on the contractor. So, of course, they requested the additional time that we had to stop them to work all this out with the power company. The power company, like I said, I got word 2 days ago from the engineer. Tony hasn't heard back from the CEO, but that within the corporation, they're basically agreeing that they'll do it for us and let us be it's going to be discounted, but they don't know what the exact price is going to be. But at this rate, it's going to be significantly cheaper to stick with the 3-phase as the initial plan was than to try to rewire the building down to single phase.
What about time frame?
As far as now that we know the 3-phase, we were able to start work back up. They have 2 weeks worth of work, and as long as the power company can get to us, we haven't worked out the scheduling, but they only said it's a day worth of work. So we're probably looking at the end of August 31st. They're asking for 4 additional weeks is what the contractor is asking for, which would from July 31st to August 31st.
John, do we have 3-phase in all the fire stations, or what requirement?
It's about half and half. The reason they designed it 3-phase is because it's cheaper to build, commercial-wise, and it's generally cheaper to operate.
Understood.
And that's why it was designed. Now we went to them initially and said, hey, is it possible to have 3-phase? Because at that point we would have just designed everything single-phase. And at the time it seemed like a win-win. Hey, they're already going to be there. They're going to be doing the work. It's going to be cheaper to build the electrical system out that way. The communication didn't make it down to the gentleman that was the engineer we did all the planning with, ended up being transferred to a Jasper office, and they put another guy, and he just didn't relay the information to his guys.
Is that the only hang-up that we have?
Yes, sir.
What about, do we have a septic system in there?
Yeah, Stacy's up there right now, as a matter of fact. They're moving dirt. The bank that we had to cut out, they're working on that today, as a matter of fact, and the septic system and all that. And you should be done with all that by Friday. None of that, the septic system and the finished grade part hasn't been much of anything of a delay or a hang-up. He's been coordinating real close with the contractor. Hey, I need it done by this point. Once the electrical issue hit, that's what's held us up. It didn't make sense to do all the finished work with the potential that we were going to have to go in and tear it all back out. So we reached the point where we can go as far as we could to where it wasn't gonna cost us any additional money to go back in and start pulling stuff out. But now we have the direction, they've got their instructions to finish it on out.
How firm is the August 31st date? Because it's about the 10th date that we've had.
Yeah.
Just as firm as the other.
Just, that's my concern.
It's gonna rely on the power company. As far as our contractor being able to do what they need to do and all of that, they're confident as far as, whether we can guarantee the power company's gonna do what they're supposed to do on time. I don't have any control over that. But in all, July 31st has been their deadline from the very beginning. So they've not asked, until this, they've not asked for any additional time. Because they had 6 months from the time that they started. And they actually didn't even get going until about 2.5 months into that.
Let's have a quick conversation this afternoon. Anything else? Any questions? Anybody has? Appreciate it, Sean. The second item, I really had intended to include in deleting it from the agenda because we still do not have a candidate. So I would propose that we table this one. And I think, I believe that has to be a formal motion, so I'll make the second. That has to be the motion.
We'll just table it.
Lower Carter Road Bridge. We have received the MOU from Department of Transportation. The estimate for the obtaining the rights of way was $100,000. And our half of that would be $50,000. And that would be the extent of the cost to us for them to go ahead and replace this bridge. So, and as I read the MOU, even if the cost of the rights of way exceed $100,000, we're still just on those 50. So they have asked that we sign that. Get that back to them by the end of the month. I'd like to get it back to them as quickly as possible. So, and hopefully y'all will receive copies of it.
I'm assuming that affects 4 parcels and 4 counties.
Yeah. Well, that was the original,
As far as we know.
as far as we know, yeah. We'll change that. So, but tomorrow I will be making a motion that we approve that. If y'all don't have any
We're
concerns.
getting out cheap compared to the one that.
Yeah, it's like half of what the little wooden bridge costs. Of course, one big difference, I think, is that this one's already shut down. In the other case, those people, their only way in and out, and they had to get an alternate, build something, alternate path for them before they could take out the bridge. But if we can give these folks $50,000 at some point, we get that bridge replaced. Yeah, I'm good with it.
1.2 million, I mean, and that estimate is probably low than that.
That's a year old. Now, this does not mean that they're going to start construction this year, but this is the first and the primary step that we have to get to. And so we want to go ahead and get that back to them as quickly as possible. Any questions on that? Okay. Update from the Chamber of Commerce. Ms. Page.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Gave a pretty extensive update just a couple of months ago, so I wanted to just spend a few minutes on a couple of items that we are currently working on and focus on really our public relations contract that we have with Laurie Road Communications. We made a conscientious effort about 18 months ago to focus on editorial coverage. And this partnership has continued to pay off. Just this year, we have already had 3 visits from travel writers. 2 particularly that I'll mention. One is a gentleman named Randy Duteau. He was here, he was actually here the weekend of the storm, mountain biking. So he came in and worked with Mulberry Gap and the bike shop and is working on a pitch piece specifically for us. And that pitch piece will then be used by Lori Rowe and all of us to help in promoting our mountain biking in the community. And to also kind of enhance our online presence with mountain biking. So we're really excited about seeing what comes out with that. We also had earlier this summer a gentleman named Joe Tennis who was actually on assignment with Blue Ridge Country magazine. He was doing a piece on the best fall scenic tours, and they picked one community in all of the Blue Ridge states. And so we will be featured in that. And then additionally, he was working on an article for their January edition, which is a feature on the Bigfoot Museum. So that was kind of a double dip there with him. Coming up this fall, Labor Day, we have, hopefully, Labor Day, we have a family travel writer out of DeKalb County. She's a freelance writer with great following. She's coming up with her family to do a story on family travel. And we've been contacted by a lady out of Michigan. She's another freelance writer that has a very large social and online presence. And she's looking at doing an article on Bigfoot as well and fall travel. So our PR relationship has really started paying off. I gave you the full report. I've been happy to email this to you. It actually just came in a couple of days ago and haven't had time to digest it yet. But last time I was with you all, we had a total estimated value just since July of 2017, I think that was through March of 2018, of $7.7 million with an estimated value. We are now at about $8.4 million, so we continue to see that pay off. And that does not include, we're still trying to track the value of the craftbeer.com and Forbes.com feature of River Street Tavern. So that does not include that. We know that that's going to be additional value. So that has really, again, started paying dividends for us. On the tourism product development side of things, working with Kent and the Joint Development Authority, a number of the projects that are coming in that Kent's working on are tourism related. So he has been very gracious, and we've been working a lot of those together. That's taking a lot of time as well. Travis mentioned the Ember Ride Center earlier. The Chamber has done a letter of support. We did one many years ago as well when we initially thought about this. So I met with Terry Palmieri a couple of weeks ago, reviewed the application that was submitted, and the Chamber, through our hotel motel tax, we are actually financing that application. The initial fee is only about $250 for the application, but then once they come and do the site visit, it's I think between $3,000 and $5,000. So we have budgeted for that in 2019 to help make that Ember Ride Center come to fruition. So we also, fall is quickly upon us. We're working on all of our fall promotions, as well as you all saw the spring insert that we did in partnership with the Times Courier. I gave you guys this the last time. We have done a fall insert piece as well that will drop just before Labor Day in some of the same South Georgia, North Florida markets, but we've added an additional 27,000 circulation in some key Alabama markets. So we're excited about that partnership with them. And just really quickly, I'll give you this. This is an update of our financials since January. I think I made enough. There you go. So you see the budget that I presented back a few months ago and where we are in relation to that. We are really tracking very well on expenditures as well as collections. Hotel motel tax is trending up again. this year. If we finish out the year with every month being equal to 2017, we'll actually end the year slightly above what we had budgeted at $425,000. So hotel motel tax does continue to trend very well. So from this, you can see kind of where we are. We are looking at pulling back some of our print, and I think I talked about this back in May, adding some digital, and possibly we'll have some additional expenditures on the PR side because of all of the travel writers that are expressing interest. Watkins House is still there. It's about all I can say at this point. We have cleaned up the landscape, and I think it looks fantastic. I think you can see the building a lot better. We are in final negotiations with a contractor to hopefully start renovations very, very soon. We're very excited about the plans for the first floor of that building. I think it's going to be one that everybody's going to be very proud of, and we want to have an open house very soon. But that is a very vague term. Then also, finally, we are planning and finalizing our 2019 budget, which I will present to you guys in September. So, happy to answer any questions.
You talked about the estimated value of $8.4 million and the dividends and so forth. Can you give us more specific examples of things in the community that can be attributed to this investment?
I think it's a very indirect. I wish I could give you very specific. Other than the, and we don't have the numbers on the River Street Tavern piece with Forbes and craftbeer.com. When a specific business like that is featured, I think Brad would say that that is definitely attributed to an increase in his business. Bigfoot is a perfect example. David and his wife have definitely seen increases based on some of the editorial coverage that they've gotten. I think we'll see a little bit more of that in the fall once some of our fall pieces hit. Specifically, one cabin rental company called us and said they've had the best year yet, and I happen to be one of the ones that we have featured recently in one of the articles. So I think it's an overall increase that we continue to see.
In light of our budget situation and so forth, do you feel that the level of investment the county is making in relation to its overall budget and how tight that budget is, should we continue that level of investment? That's what I'm struggling with.
I do, of course, I certainly feel so. I think that we've proven that tourism is going to be one of the most important investments and industries moving forward for this community. I think that anytime we pull back on the marketing and the product development that we're looking at doing in 2019 and 2020, we're just going to fall further behind other communities that continue to put additional dollars in to marketing the community. Because you also have to, the other thing that I'll say about the tourism marketing is most investors, I cannot imagine an investment being made in our community where they are not a visitor first. So we have to look at the marketing and promotion that we're doing for our community, not just on visitation, but getting people here to see our community and possibly moving and then possibly investing in our community. So I think it does lend itself very well to the investment as well that you're making in the Joint Development Authority. I think they are a great combination now with both of those, because we have a professional staff with the Joint Development Authority that is working every angle, and because of their tight budget, we're able to help on some of the promotion of our community and let them piggyback each other. With all respect to, of course, the budget that you all have.
Arguably, Blue Ridge is one of the hottest destinations in North Georgia, if not the state. And most of the people visiting Fannin County and Blue Ridge are passing through Gilmer County. So how much consideration has been given to tapping that market versus trying to bring additional business. We have tens of thousands of people traveling through on the way to that hot destination. How can we better capture the people that are already here?
I think that we certainly have benefited, and I would be remiss in not saying that we have certainly benefited from not just Blue Ridge, but our partners to the north. Blue Ridge, Blairsville has done an excellent job as well. Union County has started to spend a little bit more. So we have a partnership of those 4 counties, and we meet several times a year to talk about how we can cooperatively work together to get people to, because we need them on this corridor. First and foremost, we need them on the corridor. And then it is our individual destination responsibility to get them into our community. So there may be some opportunities. I have not always been the biggest fan of outdoor marketing, billboards and other things like that. There may be some opportunities there that we can look at in trying to pull people off of the highway. We have done some in-market advertising within Blue Ridge. I don't know if you're familiar with Directions magazine. It's been around for several years. It's one of the most picked up pieces in Blue Ridge. So we have done some in-market specifically with Blue Ridge. We also have some crossover between our cabin rental companies that have cabins in Gilmer and in Fannin. We have specifically asked them to make sure that they're including our information in their cabins at Blue Ridge. And then we have a great partnership. Jan Hackett is probably one of my closest friends, and they do a great job of, I think, helping promote us as well. So I'm open to any opportunity that you think is out there for us to tap into that market a little bit better, because I certainly do think that that's a missed opportunity if we're not pulling those people.
The billboards, I've never been that huge a fan either,
Yeah.
but a lot of communities in the south, especially in the mountainous areas, have beautiful gateway signage.
Do not disagree.
That I do believe is very effective, and it's more personal about the community itself than what we have on.
One of the things I think I mentioned back in May was in 2019, we do plan a complete overhaul of our marketing campaign and some of our branding. Not an overhaul of the existing branding, but an extension of that. And one of the first things on that is some new signage. We would love to have, we've talked to the city about some additional signage in the city, helping to brand it, wayfinding signage. One of the things Terry and I talked about in our meeting was specifically the trailheads. I'd love to be able to get people
That's
to
one
the
of the
golf
requirements
course.
for the ride
It
center.
is, yeah, and we've actually talked to her about that, and there's 2 different, I think, one is more on trail and one is more trailhead. You know, I'd love to be able to put together a program that both cities in the county could agree on with specifically gateway and wayfinding signage, which I think are the 2 biggest, probably missing pieces right now. And we can do that through some of the, I consider that product development. So I think that we could jointly look at doing that in 2019 and moving some funds over to help pay for that.
You had had some conversations, Charlie, I believe, with BOC about 515 corridor signage.
Not very successful.
I do see on 515 further north where it's 2 lanes, and that may make a difference. Some beautiful signage, gateway signage.
And sometimes I've seen in
And
other,
they got Jeff Senator Duke, she's pretty well connected in transportation.
I've seen other communities where they have the same issues with DOT in finding a private landholder that is just outside of the right of way and being allowed to do it in that way.
The purchase of small foods.
A little easement or something to be able to do some of the gateway signs. But I think we're thinking along the same lines, because I do think that that is the next step, especially because the county has started using some of that branding. Now we're getting the city on board, and I think the next step is some signage.
When I look at the history of our own business, you know, we were right down in Highland Crossing, right in the middle of things, and advertising and traditional media and so forth. We moved out on the highway and stopped all advertising. We had a 3rd increase immediately, just tapping into those people heading north. And to me, that's a very viable strategy for Gilmer County being positioned where we are on 515. I don't think we utilize it as well as we could.
It's one of the key reasons that the ordinance chamber, has always felt so strongly about having a presence on 515. Having a presence downtown is going to be important as well, but keeping that presence on 515.
You know, one of the things that David mentioned, right after we, was, but the idea of one of these big electronic signs.
Y'all can get a grant for a sign like that. I believe Veronica or Lumpkin County got one. And I still believe that if you did it at the entrance of Fort Pickens and Gilmer, is that you can do it as a public service announcement sign as well. Use it to advertise when you got events occurring in town. Because if you catch them there and you let them know there's an event occurring in town, a lot of times they'll detour for a little while and stop. And sometimes once they create that detour, they'll actually, but it can be a rolling sign. And you can be creative with the design of the sign. You don't necessarily have to stick with the rectangular sign. You can get with it and make it unique. But I believe those signs would be, like I said, a public service announcement. Like if you've got something going on in the community and or a large storm approaching, that's also beneficial.
Well,
Does the county side limits allow
What?
the, like, big LED lighted signs?
The county can always adjust its ordinance.
What agency?
I don't remember, Jim, but I do know that there was a grant that was obtained on a billboard, and it's an electronic billboard sign. And I introduced that concept. I believe it was Lumpkin, but I introduced it to the board. But you could catch everybody leaving Pickens and coming into Gilmer
And now Apple Alley.
you could sunset it at night at 11 o'clock. You could turn the sign off because you come in, you know. There's different things you can do to be creative. And because there's limited signage along this corridor, I mean, it was still
Stand out.
It was still, yeah.
And it would certainly help, you know, we have a small event coming up in a couple of weeks, and DOT has tracked down on directional signage that we can use for the festival. So anything we can do that would help.
But what brought that to my suggestion was those mountain biking signs. As you come in from Pickens to Gilmer, you're passing sign, and then here's that little bitty mountain bike sign.
You don't even notice.
You don't even notice
An
it.
Appalachian Trail town.
They're so
even
small.
smaller.
Yeah, and so you could put those up there, broadcast them for 15 seconds and let them roll. And so I just think it's
People are attuned to screens,
They are.
whether you're in the hand or.
That's true.
It's ridiculous, but it is a fact. I'm glad to hear you say you're de-emphasizing print media. That Blue Ridge magazine, we
We
get
are.
stacks of them, and I'll get a stack that big one.
We are not resigning. We are actually, with the new marketing campaign, we're looking at all of our past media channels and analyzing all of them. There'll be a few that will continue, especially with our state, because we do have some state co-op money that they're very specific as to where we have to spend it. But we've done other things this year, trying to move away from traditional. We did for Apple Blossom and for another spring promotion, we did some advertising with NPR out of WAB, out of Atlanta Market, and the number of just my personal friends that contacted me that heard it. So we're definitely looking at some additional things, as well as some of that development. I love the sign idea. I love that idea. So,
Yes, we've got to buy a little piece of land to make it happen, let's do it.
Again, creativity with that sign. Like I said, you have to.
People are already here. We just need to give them a pause, and if we ever get them once, they'll come back.
that's true.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
And of course, we have bass coming in October.
Oh,
Failed to
yeah,
mention that,
absolutely.
but-
The important stuff.
The important things, we have fishing going on.
Thank you, Paige.
You're welcome.
Parks and Recreation.
Youth football kicks off next weekend with games, off in November. It's a pretty good team this year, I believe. They'll make finished on the pavilion, looking to start to fence and stuff. And then we're still here, so we'll start fence stuff next week and get that playground up and running again. That will be completely operational. We got to move on up to the new pavilion, got the new playgrounds, and I'd like to thank Wally Stover Home because they have brought their crews out. So donated their crews to put that roof on, so it's good offering those. So we're waiting on the roofing contractor. Guys coming to the socket, looking at it probably the next 2 weeks. Basketball registration will start next month. So we just go from one, move right into the next one. Other than that, we're just busy. Mowing grass, more grass.
I don't think you feel.
Could possibly bale hay. There's some places we could bale hay.
Go for it. All right, thank you, Kevin.
Well, we got the reports there, with 12 plus inches of rain, it was a good month. I'll get the storm in a minute, but really, that much rain in as many days, we were closed. We were closed 3 days for storm, and then we weren't closed for the other day, but
Might as well be.
might as well be. So, we were a little bit behind what we did last year, but that's going to happen when you have that kind of weather. But you can see the number of rounds. When it was pretty, they were there. So we had 2 tournaments scheduled for that month. Rotary, which we got Gilmer scheduled. That was the first month, I think. We got those guys rescheduled for October 6th. And then the Red Pig tournament was Saturday the storm came through. So obviously we had to back that one up. And we're going to have theirs the 25th of August. We had the Hall of Fame last Saturday, and Mr. Charlie showed up to get them kicked off. They were glad he dropped by there for a little while. They had 19 teams, that was a great crowd. Probably the most they've had in a while, as far as players go. It was a good day. Next tournament will be the Builders Association, and that's 22nd of August. As far as the shop, pro shop, and everything runs smooth. The paving is done. I mean, Dallas talked about that a little bit ago. Everything, all the bad areas are done except for one spot that I didn't do. It's concrete, and the Carroll brothers had leased it back a long time ago. They thought they would concrete a one hole, and they concreted it. 3 or 4 years ago, we had a storm, and the culvert washed out. I had to pick the spot up. I didn't want to put asphalt down in the middle of a concrete pad. It just wouldn't look right. So when we get called back up, I'll get the concrete, and I've got a float and everything. So I'm gonna cut it and get it squared. And that's the only area we didn't do. With the storm, now we did, like I say, the paving's done, but the storm, we did have an area, one small area of pavement, the new pavement, get washed out. We got 5 inches of rain up there, and it was a little over 5 inches of rain in about an hour and a half. And I don't care what kind of culvert, how big a pipe you had, it was gonna happen. So, it's repaired. I did talk to Kevin about it. The guy that, Moss Paving, he works up in here a lot, and he said when he had some jobs up here, he'd bring some asphalt down, he could fix it. I've got it repaired, but it was gravel and stuff, just to get by. As far as the storm goes, that's as bad as I've seen that golf course. You couldn't see the grass. We started Saturday. By the time I got the guys there, about 7 in the morning. We worked 12 hours, and we got to number 7. And all we did was cut trees off the path where we just get around to assess what kind of damage we had. Then Sunday we came in, we got 17, and I had a tree across the ground. I don't know if anybody in here stood up there, Tom might have seen it, but about 80-foot pine tree fell right across the ground. The only tree out of the hundreds that fell that I was going to cut. The other two fell. So, but it it could have been worse. I mean, it takes a long time for me to get out there and fix that, because it needs to be smooth like that table. When you're taking a pitchfork to something that's supposed to be smooth, you sanded it and you top dressed it, it actually looks better than all it would. But we did that on Sunday, and the other guys on the green top, you couldn't even see. You know, we got their hand picking, rubber sticks just blowing down in the green. So, and then Monday, then Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we were closed. I did not open. We didn't have power until I think it was Sunday afternoon sometime. So Monday was another full day of about 10 or 11 hours of just trying to get everything from the tee to the fairway long. You know, and that's, we got sticks and big old ends out there that can't play golf. And then we had some hanging trees that we had to get out. But as far as damage, the only damage we had was that green, little pavement on 9, and then a little covered off one. And I fixed all of them, so really it could have been a heck of a lot worse. It cost us more than the revenue, really, than anything. It's just had to be closed. One good thing about it was that I laid sod, I put 15 pounds of sod down, and it got water in it. So we didn't have to water it. That's the only positive thing that came out of it. But other than that, when we have something like this, and it doesn't have to be this, it can just be a rain day, it backs us up. You know, so I would say by the end of this week, we should have everything back to where, you know, as far as grass stuff, where we try to keep it, you know, but we had last week, that we started up where it's good. So but this week we should be covered. I haven't heard any complaints, so that's a good thing.
When you sand that green, what red paper you use?
Yeah, I had to hand do this. And do your smoothie, I have a machine that I went out and did it after. I'm gonna be there by here the other month. Probably the big area. I've got pictures too. I'll get you guys some pictures here.
I still get very positive comments about golf course.
Yeah.
Consistent.
Just coming along.
I appreciate it.
Coming along. Thank you.
Any questions for Mike? Appreciate it. Airport and Public Works.
Let me start with the airport. The land acquisition for one property owner that we have been dealing with for a couple of years is moving along. Met with him this month, and he was able to provide us with some final information that the FAA was asking for as far as comparables are concerned, and we provided that to DOT and the FAA, and still waiting to hear back from them. But it looks very positive that we'll be able to make a final offer, or the chairman will be able to make a final offer to that property.
That's the northwest corner property?
Yes.
Okay.
Just before you turn in off Sunlight Road, you can't miss it. For the last couple of months, I've reported to you that the FAA and DOT was making a verbal grant offer of $350,000 to us. This month, Chairman Parrish received a letter telling us that federal funding assistance was available in the amount of $496,000. I don't know if did you provide them with a copy of that letter, Charlie?
I hope so, but I don't remember.
I think I've seen that.
It was dated July the 9th from Carol Coleman.
Who's now retired, I understand.
Really?
Yes,
When did that happen?
I just saw that this week.
Really?
Yeah, but anyway.
Well, what that grant requires is a match of $27,576, but we would not be required to do that until 2019 because the project has to be ready by October of 2018. But since Charlie received this letter, there has been, coming from the FAA, an appropriation of $1 billion that is being made to general aviation airports for 100% grant money. And what we are trying to do, and we think we're going to be successful, is to piggyback that with this, which would bring the total project of phase 3 to 1.5 million. And we'll know more in the next couple of weeks about that, but it looks like that we're going to be able to get the funding to finish all of the runway safety improvements that have been planned for some time now. And the $27,000 match would be included in the 2019 capital. Any questions about that? The other thing on the airport is to make you aware that on the 26th of August, we will have a inspection of the airport. Now that's on a Sunday, and this is an inspection of all asphalt surfaces. This is something that we do every 5 years. Dallas, you were probably, you were there the last time that inspection was made. But that is a prelude to if you have any bad asphalt areas, asking for funding assistance. We are very fortunate in that our runway surface was actually installed in 2004 and 2005, and it's still good. And the reason that it's still good is because we have done preventive maintenance. We've done crack seal. We received a grant a few years ago to do that and the restriping. They'll be inspecting also our apron area and our parking area. So I'll be able to report to you in September as to how that inspection goes. Before I move to roads and bridges, is there any questions that you all have about?
Jim, a real quick question, not on grant related, but I know we're still and have continued to have lighting problems out there. Is there any long-term solution to that?
Well, what Bird Electric is trying to troubleshoot that right now. We may have a bad, are you talking about parking light?
No.
You're talking about the runway light. We may have a regulator that has gone bad there, but we don't know that for sure yet. But we have an electrician that is trying to troubleshoot that and fix it. So
I know that's been an ongoing hassle.
Yeah. We just this month, we had a problem with our Unicom radio, and finally got that repaired. And the connector that was fastening the coaxial to the antenna had actually been pulled out, and that could have been something. It could have been vandalism, or it could have been the electrician that was up on the tower a month or so ago repairing the rotating beacon. But yeah, we're working on the lighting now.
Jim, do you have some lighting that are out, or is it like a whole runway?
No, what happens is no, it's not all of them, and they come on and off and at different intensities, and that's why the electrician thinks that it may be the regulator. We have a regulator that is in that big green box there that controls that.
Right, because that's 600-volt line.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, any other questions? All right, let me get to roads and bridges. The July 21st storm, and I appreciate everybody else's pain that that storm created, but it really created pain for the road department. We were mobilized that morning about daylight, and we had nine folks that worked all day and part of the night. We had a total of 45 roads that were damaged, either with trees completely blocking the road or with pipes, road washing. And we worked all day Saturday and into Saturday night, part of Sunday, and then we're still working on that today. We estimate that the damage that storm caused us just in materials, now that doesn't include labor and everything else, is about $25,000. And that was primarily in stone, pipe, and things like that. In addition to that, in the solid waste department on that day, that most people don't even think about, we only had 3 convenience centers operating because of power. The 4 convenience centers, Tails Creek, Whitestone, White Pat, and Yukon. Those centers could not operate. Now what we did is we kept them manned because we didn't know when the power was going to come on, and we directed the patrons to the 3 centers that were open. The 3 centers that were open were the landfill, Tower Road, Coosawhattie, and Cartier. One of the things that you'll see when I get the solid waste report that we experienced because of the power outages on Monday, well, starting on Monday actually, we were lined up with people spoiled food, being deposited. So, but as far as damage to the convenience centers or anything like that, we didn't have any. And I'll tell you about the damage that we had when I get to solid waste. Ridgeway Church Road, we basically have not, since the 21st, and because of the number of days of rain that we had during the month of July, we have not done anything on Ridgeway Church Road beyond the work that we have already started. And hopefully, if we finish up with the cleanup work this week, then we'll be able to get back on Ridgeway Church Road next week. In addition to that, one of the things that we did do this month at the detention center is that we paved the parking lot for them that I think you all were aware of that we were going to do for the sheriff, and we were able to get that done. The one thing that I do have to report to you on the FEMA project on Old Bucktown is that the FEMA has now received our request and our engineering stuff, and in conversation that we had with them this month, we're probably going to have an answer by the end of the month on whether or not they will allow us to change that project worksheet to a relocation of the road or not. So
And at that time, can we proceed, or are there additional?
no, we would.
That's the
we would be
final?
able- That's the final, right.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the things that we were preparing to do when the storm hit was to start our 2018 LMIG paving. 2017 has been finished. Those 3 roads have now been striped. If you haven't been out to take a look at those 3 roads, you ought to, because Burke Mountain, Mountain Town, and Sunlight Road, they look very good. We had planned to start 2018 paving this month, but had to delay that until we could get the cleanup finished. Our plan is to pave 2 of the roads, that would be Johnson Mill and Tower Road, with tar and chip. Tower Road, especially because of the heavy truck traffic, we just don't believe that that road would stand up to asphalt. Because that constantly advanced disposal is coming in and out of the landfill there, and puts a real strain on that asphalt surface. The other roads that we have scheduled would be done after we do the tar and chip on Tower Road and Johnson Mill. Solid waste, I think you have, is there any questions about the road department? Okay, solid waste, one of the, I think you have the spreadsheet in front of you that we provide to you every month. Our collections of solid waste is up, actually 9.9% in July, almost 10%. That is for the year. So our waste collections are up, which means that our cost for disposing of that waste is also going to be up. In addition to that, I think it was Travis that requested the sheriff's roadside trash pickup. We have included that on the spreadsheet. In July, that crew worked 15 days, again because of rain. They picked up 13,040 pounds of waste off of our roadside and 52 orphan right-of-way tires. So for the just since March, the last 3 days in March, that effort has picked up 45, almost 46,000 pounds of waste off the roadsides.
Interject just for a moment. I gave you that picture, David, of that sign down in Pickens County. Were you able to reference that?
I did look at the statute, and that deals with the degree of trash that's considered more contaminated, and that's how the findings is breakdown. Yeah, so it's specialized trash or discarded trash rather, and it's typically some sort of environmental, some sort of hazardous waste of some sort. But it can, you can cite from the lower level all the way to the upper level, and this is up to the fact finder from the person who's found when convicted of whatever the offense is as to where the fine would be.
So that would not apply to throwing the garbage bag out the window.
That's going to be capped at $1,000. But the 5,000, it's, and I don't have it with me, but it's like I said, it's a different type of trash. But again, your signage can say up to 5,000, because again, you know, it depends on what it's discarded.
Well, I think you'll see on state routes, that's what it's supposed to be, up to $5,000. Yeah. But it's all about enforcement.
Yes.
If you don't, you can buy all the signs in the world and put them up, and if you don't enforce it, yeah, or they'll shoot it, you know. if you don't enforce it, I mean, it means nothing.
Well, I think the whole community has made it clear they think this is a significant problem and needs addressed. That's crystal clear.
Yeah. One of the things in solid waste that I wanted to report to you, and this relates back to the July 21st storm event, we did have damage done at the landfill in our sedimentation pond. We have, for those of you that haven't toured the landfill, which I'd love to take you on, we have a sedimentation pond at the bottom of the landfill that has a liner in it. And then it has a clay cap on top of that and then a membrane. And part of that membrane was exposed because of the high levels of water. We had our engineers to look at it. They do not believe that it reaches the level to have to advise EPD of it. It's merely a repair item, and we're in the process of doing that now. So, but that was the only damage that the solid waste department experienced. That's all I have.
All right. Appreciate it, Jim. Is there any other general discussion before we get into the action item? First item will be discussion and possible action to grant authority to the tax commissioner to waive interest and penalties. This is a request that we have from an individual who has not paid property taxes and has missed a significant amount of penalties and interest, and has an opportunity to sell the property, and it's requesting now that the penalties and interest be waived on that. The total amount, including penalties and interest,
Is it a large number?
$247,028.
And what portion of that is, I think it's called?
We're not sure exactly what portion of that is involved in the sale.
But what portion of it is penalties and interest?
Oh, I'm sorry. I got that.
Changes every month. Just so y'all know, that the specific agenda item before y'all know is the general application of that statute. And that statute provides that y'all can allow Becky in her capacity as tax commissioner to waive interest and penalties. And there had been a statute, or not a statute, but a resolution that had been adopted back in 2013. And it's been historically something that has been bestowed upon the tax commissioner by various boards over the years. But that expired on January the 31st of 2017. I suspect if we asked her, she would tell me that today she still waives penalties and interest occasionally for different property owners as they come in and present hardships to her. So the agenda item that y'all are considering needs to back itself up to July or January 31st, and then needs to extend itself out into the future so that this action doesn't have to necessarily be brought before you. So that agenda item is a general item, but it was brought to the board's attention by virtue of the individual, and so I don't want y'all to confuse the two and necessarily suggesting that if you give her that authority that she's going to go and do that at this point in time, but.
Right.
This doesn't address the question or the problem of trying to sell property at tax sales and eliminate penalties and interest for those properties. This is for property that is simply delinquent. Is that correct?
Normally, when I have to remove or do remove interest and penalty, it's because of erroneous error, something's been done incorrectly, addresses weren't changed when they needed to be done, and people were not notified. Postmark, because we have to take postmark, so a lot of times we have to remove some interest and penalty due to the postmark. I don't remove interest and penalty on people that haven't paid their tax bill on time. Sorry. I have to pay mine on time, and if I don't, I pay interest and penalty.
But our resolution actually gave you that authority, did we not?
It does.
That it used to, the one we had enforced before.
My concern is that whether we're talking about land use and zoning or whatever it is, that we apply, whatever we do consistently, day to day and week to week and month to month. And something like that where there's some options to defer or not. The concern, so I like the statement you just made.
And the proposed resolution, which is going to be based upon the prior resolution, it's going to grant that authority to Becky in her capacity as tax commissioner, so long as she reasonably determines that the default giving rise to the penalty or interest was due to reasonable cause, which she suggested examples of, and not due to gross or willful neglect or disregard of the law. So, and I think she's giving these suggestions. And occasionally there are hardships where, like I said, people don't actually receive a tax bill. There's just some things that occur that you just would like not to occur, but when you got 39,000 parcels, I guess, things are going to occur. Otherwise, if y'all don't grant her that authority, I believe each and every item has to come before y'all. They'll come before y'all. So it could get your agenda pretty heavy.
The question in my mind is, if we have a property owner that has property that they claim they can't sell due to the cost of penalties and interest, which must be resolved before the sale can be finished or completed, is that a reasonable cause to drop those penalties and interest? That's the basic
It's
question.
not. It's not.
Not.
Well, the question is, which is in the best interest of the county and the citizens?
Well, unfortunately, though, I think the authority you would be giving her would not excuse her to allow them to do that, because it would be gross or willful neglect of the taxpayer. So, I mean, I think she'd be discharging her duties not as you had been authorizing her to discharge her duties, which could potentially jeopardize her and her position as tax commissioner. So, if somebody simply fails to pay their taxes, that's a gross or willful neglect. That's factual. It's inexcusable.
Are we dealing with foreclosed properties at all? Either in this specific case or in other cases, does it matter?
No, because the foreclosures would go through the banks and they would sell them on the courthouse steps. My taxes would be paid. Any taxes owed at that point would be paid when the bank sold the property
Out of the proceeds.
as a foreclosure. Yes,
And that's just standard procedure.
yes.
So even with the resolution reinstating that authority does not really address people that want to
Well, I would imagine.
take advantage of the system, maybe. I shouldn't say it that way, but get relief without having a real.
I would imagine that with that authority, that in a specific case like that would still have to come through to us. And I got to tell you, I'm not inclined to favor something like that, because first of all, if you can pay your taxes, you should. Secondly, if we do it for one, we got to do it for all.
That's another
And
truth.
I'm personally not in favor of anything.
So, to address Dave, okay.
As far as the hardship cases, our office takes payments every day. We notify our customers that if you're having a hard time, I won't put your property up for tax sale. It won't be sold on the courthouse steps as long as we see that you're making a monthly payment and you're making progress on getting it paid off in a timely manner. But it does not stop the cost. It does not stop the late fees. It does not stop the penalty.
And in those cases,
Continues to
the
accrue.
taxpayer generally enters into a contractual arrangement with you.
Well, we don't sign any more.
You don't do them anymore?
No, we don't, because the contracts were like this, you know, and we file them and then they don't make them. So as long as we can see in the computer, because all we have to do is look up that parcel, And you can see if they're making monthly payments. You can see if they're 2 years behind, 5 years behind, 7 years behind. So as far as a written agreement, there isn't any anymore, David.
Okay.
It was just inconvenient for us trying to keep track of those payment plans. So,
So to address David's twofold, two issues here, I am in favor of granting retroactively back to the first of the year this authority, but the case that brought this to our attention, I don't think it applies.
Not that.
And it'll retro back to 2017, January 31, 2017.
Oh, okay.
Now, that last resolution was adopted in January 31, 2013, so it would have been 14, 15, 16, it would have been a 4-year resolution, so y'all just need to consider what amount of time that you would want to place that in perspective. And normally they run current.
I was gonna say.
It runs every term, her term, and it
Yeah,
extends
that
out
makes sense.
something like that. But I think,
And in reviewing that document, David, anything come to mind, any revisions of any kind that you saw as needed? Well, I'm in favor of proceeding and granting it.
And the term then would be through February of 2021, does that sound right?
when does your term sunset? Or,
so I got 2 years to wait for it, so this is the
so it'd be,
21.
we'll do February, or January 31st of 21.
And in January of 21, you'll need to come back to us and tell us what we
Yes,
need
as
to
soon
do.
as my election, so.
Yes.
In January.
Is that an announcement?
Maybe. Ask me another day, but today I'm good. No, don't ask me. It's still-
February.
Somehow, I'd like to have a further discussion of situations like this one that triggered this.
Well, we've got it on the agenda. We can discuss it.
Well, the thought is that if there's a way to, let's say the development authority, we have a, how much was it, 200,000?
240.
250,000.
And I think you also need to know that that person that is making that, or that company that is making that request purchased a piece of property there on Old or Ella Road for $300,000 earlier this year.
Yeah, it's not a lack of resources.
No,
No, I
It's not-
don't, I agree with
That
that.
is not
but-
the issue.
But the question is, how do we get people investing in our county and not letting a county rule policy constrain that? I'm looking from a joint development authority, basically thought that we don't currently have industrial park. We don't offer that as a way to incent people to build and grow business. We don't have any incentives. We can't give them tax rebates.
Now, there are policies or laws that allow for tax abatement, but then you have to go through the development authority, and it's a bonding issue, and they release it, and then it's into the term, and it's a dollar payout. But those are transactions that are handled by your economic development, and not necessarily the board of commissioners.
No, and that's why I speak as JDA possibility. I don't see any way that as our board, we can do anything. I don't think we can do anything.
I don't see how this scenario relates to what you're talking about, though. How is it inhibiting potential investment?
The argument for it is that if those,
If there was a true buyer, and if it was true that they wouldn't buy because of the penalties,
I don't think that's, I think it's
I'm
just
saying yes.
less money would go into
The
the.
operative word is the
Sellers.
buyers want to buy, it's the seller won't sell. That may be the way to representative.
That's right.
They have an investor. That's why this came up.
That is the thing. Very
They have somebody that wants to invest
I don't understand.
with them.
Trying to make more money.
They're just trying to line
It's just
something.
more money
Without
than
paying
the
the
salary.
taxes.
If they have, if they were to have a buyer and don't want to sell, then I'm not going to solve the problem for them.
No, that's not the case. They want to sell, but they don't want to pay the back taxes.
That's
Or
the
interest
whole,
and penalties.
that's the whole
Okay,
thing.
right there.
Well,
The buyer's willing to buy.
not,
The seller
the
is
buyer's
willing to
not
sell.
willing to, evidently, the buyer's not willing to buy if they have to pay the added cost of the taxes,
We don't know that.
penalties and interest.
We don't know that.
My understanding is they have an investor. So that means they've already gave that investor a price tag.
Right. The price tag, my understanding is the price tag for the investor doesn't change.
Which will have to include, or does include, clearing up the books on taxes, the back taxes.
That's the seller's responsibility.
That's the seller's
It
responsibility.
reduces the amount of proceeds that the seller will receive. The seller in this case is asking you to increase this rate.
Is that asking you to increase his
That's
price?
the bottom line. That is the bottom line.
Can't help
Right.
Thank you.
Precisely. Thank you.
it. But I'm looking for, I still think there's a need, maybe it isn't this specific, particular case, there is a need to find how we can help incent people to invest, and whether it's JDA or us.
Well, you gotta pay some more taxes is what David was referring to. That is a way around tax. That's the board's way of dealing with tax.
Laws on books for that.
Because the JDA is a tax exempt organization, so they will hold.
They can buy and own and borrow money and lease and do all of that.
And it staggers out, it introduces property tax over a staggered period,
Right,
usually
it's-
10 years.
Right. We haven't done any of that, never.
No, you have, the Gilmer County.
Gilmer County.
The development authority has, and over there, I've got a number of books down there where we've been involved in transactions that have been with some larger businesses that have done that.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. When Gilmer County used to be a manufacturing county, and that was the predominant.
Before my time, obviously.
No, it's,
It was an industrial development.
Dallas, if I've been involved with some of them, that's not before your time.
But it was an
They don't look
industrial
good for your
development.
age.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, it was not a joint development.
That's
It
correct.
was an industrial development.
Yeah.
Spring Plaza was one.
We may need to get
That's
that.
correct. That's the last one.
What-
Yeah, Spring was the last one.
And that's the one where
We may
the,
need to get that.
they
So
did.
Okay.
There's nothing about what we're talking about here that's going to inhibit investment.
I'm not worried about inhibiting, I'm worried about encouraging, but anyway.
And I agree,
I'll
but
leave it.
I agree with
That's
that.
a separate issue from.
Yeah, I'll leave it.
They want to build a subdivision.
Yeah.
So we're good with granting, in terms of getting back to what we're doing, we're good with granting the tax commissioner.
That is all I can
Through
do.
February.
Two separate issues. Thank you for
Yeah.
clarifying
I
that.
gotta go back and look at that district, because I've lost that.
I can give you several examples of
You did.
different
That's what I was
businesses.
gonna ask.
But
Yeah.
Spring Industries is the latest.
Now, if you build my red lobster.
Some of them.
Problem with that is if he's a thousand
Come to,
residents.
We rejected it.
Well, Randy would come to us and would need something done immediately, and it takes that process. Takes 7 months, and he would choose to go forward on it and not take the opportunity. Because it isn't, I mean, it's an expense, there's bonding that's involved, and there's other elements that are involved. And like I said, I think a lot of times it's the ownership change that really sort of creates a hurdle. I think, I don't know the names of these, but some owners do not want to transfer ownership over to an entity.
Yeah.
That is required, and that's not it.
Especially an entity that, I mean, it keeps changing over the years. You don't have one consistent entity.
True.
Yeah.
Okay, we pretty much done with this one. Anybody have any other comments? to the Gilmer Beautiful Committee. And
You're supposed to have a letter, Mr. Chairman.
I do requesting Mr. Ron Cheslock. Does anybody have any other candidates other than Mr. Cheslock?
None? No, you're good.
All right, can we move it on? Discussion and possible action on the annual update of the community work program and capital improvement element within the joint comprehensive plan document. What you've got in your book is an older version. This is hot off the press here that I just gave you. And we can kind of go down the line and see if you have any concerns or anything. I would point out that not everything on here actually involves Gilmer County. There's also the JDA's involved, some Water and Sewer Authority, the cities, and they will be going back to, each of these entities will have their own meetings on this. So what we need to look at, I think, is, would be those items that Gilmer County is involved with. I would mention that nothing here is mandatory, but ideally we would want to use this as a planning tool. And put things on here that we really do like to see accomplished at some point.
When you say it's not mandatory, this is not a binding document.
Correct.
That's why you're using that word.
That's exactly what I'm saying. This is what we, this is a plan. It's
What is the
hope to do.
deadline? When is this to be submitted?
It actually has to be approved by October, so we'll probably be coming in at our September meeting for a final approval. We'll have to hold one joint public comment session. In the meantime, that's usually, in the past, that's been held by the city of East Central.
Joint meeting, what is it?
It's not a joint meeting, it's just a public comment session that allows anybody to come in and comment on any part of this. I've attended the last two of those, and I've been the only attendee of both. But that meeting is generally hosted by the city of East Central.
Do we get anything officially from the school board relative to this work program?
We wouldn't get anything from them relative to this. That would be Julian Meadows with the Regional Commission, working directly with them. So anything that they have, they have also, will be approving this sort of thing, and they'll be approving directly with Julian, with the Regional Commission. We won't be interacting with any of the entities. We'll interact with Julian and she'll be.
But they do have their own approval of this?
Yes.
Okay, that's really the question.
Each entity is going to have to approve.
And the reason I ask that is because they do have a couple line items in here
Yes.
they're responsible for.
And I don't know that that's happened in the past.
It has happened with the county and the two cities. I don't know that it's happened with Francis and Jenny.
I don't know
It's
if
not.
But,
That's why I need more deadlines.
yeah. I can have Julian give you a call.
With-
Just refer to it.
Okay.
Would that same statement also apply to the telephone company? Since they have responsibilities in here?
It would pretty much have to.
Particularly when it gets into the broadband discussion.
Page at a time.
Additionally, a lot of your other partners, including the Chamber and the Joint Development Authority, this is the first time we've seen this. So can you email it over to us so that we can
Yeah, I
take
can
a
do
look
that.
at it? And the items that are marked through, are those ones to be removed
Yes,
That's
those are
correct.
things
That's
that
correct.
either have already been accomplished.
that have been
or
accomplished?
We have no
not-
more interest in.
Okay.
For the most part, already accomplished. In discussing the items that affect the county, on page 1, item 2, actually item 2, 3, 4, and 5 county's efforts to increase broadband availability into the rural parts of the county. As y'all may be aware, there are several state initiatives underway and there's some federal initiatives. I participate on the Rural Broadband Committee with the Regional Commission, and this is it's just essentially our agreement that we would like to do what we can to see that we get rural broadband in Gilmer County. Now, there's some cost figures that are plugged in there, I think about $5,000 for each of them. That's just, we don't have real cost estimates because we don't know at this point what's going to be involved. This is just simply saying that from a county perspective, we do want to do what we can to make broadband available within rural areas of the county. The item 6, participate in the Northwest Georgia Housing and Career Initiative administered by the Workforce Development Board. Actually, that's federal and state money on that. That's one of those things that, you know, there's nothing pending, but if something comes along that, we would participate in. And by participate, I'm talking about, attend the planning, determine, what we would or wouldn't be able to do, and so forth. Item 7 is interesting. Participate in the Floor 360 Manufacturing Consortium as administered by the Alliance for Innovation and Sustainability. If you're not familiar with the Floor 360 Manufacturing Consortium, Northwest Georgia is a big player in the flooring industry and most specifically in the carpet industry. Carpet industry has been hit pretty hard by some overseas low-cost carpet coming in. It's sort of a voluntary effort to, I guess, rejuvenate the carpet industry in Northwest Georgia. And again, there's nothing specific involved here, but something could go on that we might want to participate in. On the page 8, I'm using the page numbers here, not necessarily the order, but page 8, 87, item 10, establish enterprise zones. That's out for 2021, 22, and 23 to consider. The next item that affects the county would be on page 10. Page 4, compile a list of foreclosed housing. That is something that we have agreed to try to do in 1920. Going down to item 19, continue to implement the airport 5-year capital improvement plan and airport layout. Those are the grants that Kim discussed, and we do have, unless y'all disagree, we do have every intention of pursuing those things. I like number 20 a lot. Support improvement of the intersection of 515 and First Avenue.
How many years have been on there?
Oh, we got it down for all 5 years.
It's been on there for the last 15.
Better known as malfunction.
And Gilmer County is listed on there as being one of our items, and we would certainly support the improvement of that intersection. But primarily.
But it's not in our incorporated county, so.
We still support it. So, I mean, I'll raise my hand and say, hey.
I will too.
And Charlie upon
I need to,
If they put a roundabout in there, I'll support it even then.
as much as I hate roundabouts.
The city of East
I
Georgia
jump all over
has
that.
to build that too. Are they on?
Let's
This
see.
says LJ, but it is East.
City of LJ.
It's east.
LJ.
Okay, now, this is a preliminary, so I'm telling you correctly.
LJ won't approve that. East LJ.
I think LJ would support it, though. just
Well,
like-
maybe they would support it.
Okay. Item 22, pursue funding for additional pedestrian facilities to include sidewalks, trails, river crossings. We have a number of projects that we could have over the years that our Parks and Rec would have applied. Item 23, implement the programs of the adopted long-range transportation plan in concert with the priorities of the local governments. We're kind of signing off on that, but right now, there's something for us to do, and it depends on what those plans are. Again, this is not binding. I like 24, improve public access to Gilmer County's three rivers. I think that's been the objective of the commission all along. 25, cooperate with the Georgia chapter of the Trail of Tears and research, public education, and development of a guidebook, a brochure, and/or a driving tour. 26, advocate for the Coosa Watershed Alliance. 27, work with the Georgia Trail of Tears Association to preserve sites of cultural and architectural importance. The next item that would be the county would be item 29. Prepare parks and recreation master plan in conjunction with LJ River Walking Trail project. And we pretty much have that, so that's not going to be a big effort there. 30, ensure public safety through enforcement of the county ordinance prohibiting alcohol following the LJ and Carter K rivers. And this is something we've struggled with. And we all, I think, agree that we need to find some way to enforce that alcohol ban on the river. So now that just becomes one of our objectives.
Sheriff in the budget meeting 2 years ago sat right here and said he had resources to do that. We need to listen to that tape, play it for him.
We do. I was thinking he said that we would have to provide resources.
He said he had resources and we could monitor the multi-site and talk to the outfit.
Okay.
We'll listen.
We'll need to revisit
Yeah.
that. Okay. The next item affecting the county would be on page 13. 33, design and build a new pool, including capacity upgrade to cover the facility at a later time. And that's something that's already on the radar. 34, seek grant funding for recreation projects as appropriate. Whether we want to do that. 35, continue to improve solid waste reduction through recycling processes that are financially beneficial, and also pursue grant funding when available to provide additional recycling facilities or opportunities. So I think that's a good objective. Item 36, acquire and develop new parks and open space, and we're in the process of doing that as we speak. And the final item would be on page 14. Promote all-around intergovernmental cooperation by holding planning meetings of the local government authorities, boards, and agencies as needed to improve communication and coordination. So I think everything that's in there is either something that would be a good objective for us or something that we're actively pursuing already. Coupled with the fact that it's not binding. I'd like to see us go ahead and approve that, or if y'all have some additions you'd like to make, we can do that.
So just a comment moving forward. The other organizations and agencies that are involved, specifically the Chamber of Commerce and the Joint Development Authority, can really use more time to evaluate these. If this process could be started, say in May, and distribute this and let the various boards discuss, these are some fairly large commitments and.
That's a good point. Well, they're not commitments,
Well,
but I see.
I think if you're gonna use this as something other than just as something we have to do, if this is truly gonna be a plan framework, a vision framework, these other organizations need to be brought in and given more time to evaluate, to look at the resource they can bring to bear, if it's something they're willing to do. All of those issues take time.
And your point is well taken, and I will certainly make that recommendation for when we do this in 19. The problem we have this time is if we don't get this approved and accepted by the regional commission in time, we lose our status as a so-called qualified county.
You can't get grants.
You can't get grants.
And I understand that,
But I will certainly convey that. You make that.
in an effort to make this something other than just a box to check and the file on the shelf, I think it has value if all the entities truly spend time evaluating these. And
I agree, and I suspect that the reason that hasn't been done in the past is because in the past we have treated this as something we have to check
that's right.
out.
I would agree.
But I would like to see us treat this as a planning document.
If you're gonna do it, you might as well take advantage of it and utilize it.
Well, you've known that in the past, for a good while, I've not voted in favor of this because of exactly what you're saying, Travis. We have not used it as any kind of tool, really. It's just been a piece of paper to satisfy a regional authority and keep us from getting in trouble. And that's what we've done in the past. And that's basically why I've always objected to it. It does not carry the weight that it should. It does not provide the accountability that it really should, even though it's an attempt to do it. And it could be and can be, as you said, Travis, valuable. In fact, it's needed. It really, we need it. Otherwise, everybody's going in their own direction. Everybody's not in sync. We're not on the same page. It's a problem that we have, and it's probably true of every kind of jurisdiction, but we haven't used it that way. It's not been anything but a piece of bureaucracy up to this point.
It has a potential to be a framework for a shared
It has
vision.
very much a potential.
But right now, it's not that.
Yes.
It has the value that we give it,
Yes.
and so we just need to give it more value.
And I don't mind
more
doing,
time.
and I do not mind doing
And
that.
I'm good with that for.
I do not mind doing that, and that's true.
Now, there's one other plus with this, I said plus, and that is that when we apply for some of these grants, particularly through the resources of the BCA and the Regional Commission, if you're applying for a grant for a particular item, just pick one out randomly, let's say the swimming pool. If we apply for a grant for a pool somewhere along the line, and we have the pool as one of our items in
I
there,
agree.
we get an extra boost.
I agree. I agree. It does have that aspect to it. But we have not held anyone accountable really to accomplishing the things that are in here. It's just not been used as it should be used.
Yeah, we're the ones that's accountable, and we just have to decide that's where we're gonna use it.
I don't even know the issue of lack of accountability, it's lack of participation. Organizations are in these boxes without having any input or knowledge until the document is adopted. So that's not right.
And that is a problem, I agree.
Charlie?
Yes.
Commissioner, you said that it does have to be adopted in September. Is there an opportunity to add a few items to this, or?
At this time, yes. This is the preliminary draft, so it's my understanding that we can,
I was particularly thinking about the Watkins house, if we intend to possibly look at future
yeah,
additional
that would be
development
a
or
good
things.
addition.
Okay.
We do have an opportunity to point that.
Edwin, would you please put a big asterisk on this tape? I have been fighting this for 20 years, and this is the first time that I've really seen you guys get down and get in it. Alice, you've been opposed to it.
Well, it wasn't working. It wasn't working.
But he stated the reason, so I understand the frustration.
Every grant that this county has received since we started this process, if it hadn't been done, even though there was kicking and screaming and stuff like that, you wouldn't have gotten it. That's just plain and simple fact.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think what Dallas is saying, he sees potential for it to be so much more than what's
Absolutely.
happening.
Oh, yes, I do. And it should become the, one of the most important documents we look at, but we don't do that. We don't.
But we're going to do it from now on.
We'll just make a decision right here.
I'm willing to work on it.
I would like to smile on him.
I love it. I love it. I'm a planner by trade. I mean, I love it.
Well, I like it when we plan our work, but when we don't work our plan, that's what bothers me.
That's true. Did you make that up?
No, that's an old saying that I've known for years.
Are we okay to move on?
Let's move on.
On this?
I think we have at least 2 votes to pass it in.
I think it's gonna be unanimous. You got to do it.
I didn't say that.
All right, you got to do it.
Okay.
I hate to ruin my reputation.
No.
It's too late.
Okay, we have a rezoning to consider.
Oh, I'm sorry, I still got one.
Okay. This is for Jason K. Rice, Royal Hill Lane, from R1 residential ordinance to A1 agricultural. Now, as I understand it, the reason for this request is essentially that they want to be able to put more, or 2 things. They want to be able to build a structure on this property without having to build residence first. And they want to be able to put more farm animals out there than what we allow with the changes that we made a while back for R1. We do have one letter in opposition that's provided to us. The letter kind of opposition kind of hits home for me because it hits on something that I've tried to be consistent with in these zoning requests for a while. Basically, in the last couple of paragraphs, in the petitioner's letter of intent, he states he would like to have farm animals. My wife and I did not move to this area expecting a farm to be several hundred feet from our property. From what I understand, farm animals can be anything from chickens to bovine, either of which is not desirable to the community. In closing, we would appreciate your consideration to keep our small community zoned as it was intended. Now, what I've always kind of said on these zoning requests is that if someone comes up and finds a place that they'd like to live in zones R1, and they do their homework and they find out that, it's R1 around it, I think they have a reasonable expectation that they can not be subjected to farm next to them if that's not what they want. We've been pretty liberal in allowing animals in R1. And pretty much anything you want, but with certain limitations. And the limitations we have are based on the size of the lot. So the bigger the lot, the more you can have. My understanding here is they're simply saying they want more than what would be allowed under that. Personally, I have a problem with it. I think that the people there who bought in an area, in a residential area, have an expectation that it would stay a residential area.
Well, my comments are along that same line, Charlie, that it is actually a piece of a subdivision, as we legally call it in our county. It was subdivision. It is a lot in there, or two lots, I don't know which. That lot was purchased, I forget exactly when. I want to say, I don't know exactly date, but it was purchased knowing that it was residential, knowing that it was what was proper use and allowed use for that. I have talked to David specifically because when they purchased that property, the deed itself specifically says that this described property is conveyed with the following restrictions, and it lists the fact that it is for residential purposes only. Now, I don't know how that weighs in or is in regard to our zoning, who wins in those arguments. It is, to me, not as strictly as, they do not have, is my understanding, any homeowners association. They do not have actual covenants, but this property was purchased, obviously with the understanding that it would remain residential. That's my view. I think the legal attorney would probably argue differently, that that's not relevant, but that's what I see, and it does have relevance to be a residential community with the people in that subdivision expected to remain residential.
And that's, to your point, that they knew it was R1 when they bought it.
Yes.
To extend that just a bit, all these other folks bought R1.
Yes.
With the expectation that they were buying into an area where, into a residential area.
Yes.
So.
And even though it's not developed at this point, I mean, the land and this property has basically been developed and has not been developed, to my knowledge, over the time, but
If you'll recall, a few months ago, at a prior meeting, you had a recommendation from the planning and zoning board on a similar situation. There was a piece of property that was about 9 acres, and the applicant wanted to build another home and to put some sort of, it was domesticated animals, but they were exotic, if I remember correctly. And your philosophy at that time was it was in a subdivided subdivision, and so you were going to leave that recognition there. So if you were to go in a different direction today, that would be inconsistent with what you established a few months ago, and I think that,
yeah, we would not be consistent.
yeah, you just haphazardly apply.
I would like for us to consistently say that we're not going to split up residential areas in this way.
Yeah, and this one was platted. I mean, there is a platted record, and it's clearly all the lots inside that plat are R1s. It does adjoin agriculture, but it doesn't
That's
mean
true.
that.
There's we're not saying it's a isolated or a spot zoning request. That's not the reason to reject it. No.
But it would be inconsistent with your earlier denial from 2 months ago. And I think y'all will all probably remember that.
Yeah. As far as I know, the planning commission, their recommendation was approved.
It was.
So we recognize we're only against that.
To answer that, was April 18th, 2016, is correct?
Yeah. Yes, pretty recent. Yes. Yes. And I don't think it was like a family transfer of ownership or something like that. It was purchased by.
At arm's length.
Right, exactly. So I'm not supporting it.
Any other comments on this one? If not, next item would be a resolution adopting the first reader of the Gilmer County Code of Ethics. Got just a couple of typos and one question.
This is Paulding County's ordinance. The typos, if you can, Lynn has already pointed one out, but I don't know how that y'all want to structure the appointment of those members, because Paulding County allows their chairman to appoint one, and I think the post to appoint another, and y'all have always.
And then those two appointed one board.
Yes. and
I
y'all-
kind of like that, but I'm open to anything.
I haven't had a chance to really study that with what we have here, but
This is part of the application to be a county.
To be a county official.
and this will go through a normal ordinance process.
Tomorrow will be a public hearing, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, David, on page 3, I guess it would be section 2-116. Second line of section A, one appointed by a majority vote of the 4 post commissioners.
Right, and that, there is a 5-member
Right.
board, so I wasn't sure how you wanted to do that. Because if you leave it by a majority vote of the 2, unless they come to an agreement, there's no majority, so that's presents a complication, so I didn't know really how to.
Well, I'm fine with just saying that the 3 of us appoint 2 and let those 2 appoint one more order. I think it's important that there's 2 gets appointed and they get to appoint the 3rd one. There needs to be one on there, one appointed that's independent of us. But
You can increase the number of members on that board if you wish to do that, if you wanted to. You could appoint 2 and allow them to appoint 3. It's up to y'all.
that's what I was thinking. I like the idea of 3, but again, I'm flexible
How
on
many
this.
people are you gonna find willing to do this?
Well, that's the problem.
Yeah,
Make
you
it
want to
45.
If you make a 5-person board,
That's
you
what
have
it's
to
worth,
struggle.
You'll always be looking for
It'll be
somebody.
difficult.
What if we were to make this that 2 were appointed by a majority vote of the 3 of us, and then they would appoint number 3? Would that work for you?
Completely independent of the board, subject to approval by the board.
We should be.
I think it should be
deferring.
completely independent of the board
Why?
because
And what's the precedent for that? Where else do we do?
I don't know the precedent, but
Oh,
if
because of the
there's,
nature of ethics.
yeah, I mean, they're overseeing us ethically, and if we have to approve them, then to me, that's an issue. We're
That's not
approving,
ethical.
we're approving the majority of them, but there just needs to be an independent one on
Just the nature of this particular.
there. Exactly, yeah. Any other time, it would be different.
So if we appoint 2 and they pick a 3rd,
Yes.
is what you're suggesting.
That's fine.
Yeah, I can go with
David, that work for you?
that. Now, there is a statement
I
in
can,
one
I'll
of
make
these
you changes.
that person must be a member of the state bar.
And that, that was their requirement.
Um,
And the reason I pulled Paulding's is because that was what
Sure, that's a good-
GMA recommended incorporating.
No,
this.
I have no problem.
I wanted y'all to
Right,
see the,
right.
I didn't want to doctor the document, so to
Oh,
speak, because
understand.
that's really y'all's decision at the end of the day. And I don't,
But
but
the only problem I have with being a member of the bar is whether or not we can find somebody willing to do that.
I think that would be problematic, and that is an issue of compensation, and,
So just delete that last
I
sentence.
would. I would.
And the first sentence is basically going to say, 2 appointed by the majority of the board.
3.
Now, the other typo is on the following page, sentence 2 at the top of the page. County official or official charged in complaint within than 7 calendar days. The than should be out, should just say within 7 calendar days. Have I got an old copy, it's already been corrected?
No. All right, we can do
No,
it.
it's on, mine is on a different page.
Oh.
So it's 2-117, or 11-7, A.
2-117 A, and it's the,
Next to last line.
It's within 7, just,
it says within than 7 calendar days.
they got it.
Yeah, it should be within 7. Now, those are the only typos I have. I do have some questions. Back on the first page, 2-113, 1, definition of a county official. There are 2 entities that I wonder about. One is the fact that the comptroller, which I would define in our case as being Sandy, is excluded from that. If you're going to have an ethics ordinance, I think the financial person ought to be included. I understand excluding county attorneys because none of them are ethical anyway.
Well, I'm glad you didn't say that about me.
Sandy would actually fall under 3, full-time employees of the county.
Yes, but this
Right.
one specifically excludes
And
employees.
county employees are not included in, oh, that's under county official. Yeah.
County officials are specifically, the employees are specifically excluded. So if we say an employee means any person who's full-time, and they're excluded under the definition of a county official, then and I was just kidding, I don't care if the county attorney's excluded. Then the financial officer, I think, in my mind, then would be excluded. And I think the whole point of an ethics thing would be that the financial person should be included as well.
I need to look at the ordinance a little bit, or the draft a little bit better, but I suspect the reason they are excluded is only as to this definition of what is a county official or official. And there may be a high standard with respect to the ethics as to county officials, especially with the dealings financial, than there is with employees.
I didn't see that.
So you're saying they're still subject to this code of ethics, but they're not considered a county official by definition?
Yes, and if you'll look on the conflict of interest, it talks about a county official and a county official and county official. I need to go through and find those items that would be as to an employee. And
I didn't see anything that appeared to me that it would include employees. On 2-117, it talks about complaints against county officials. I don't see anywhere where it talks about complaints against
and you know what?
anybody other than county
And
officials.
that may be, if we think about that, that may be because you want somebody stepping into the role as somebody that has to, a county employee is an employee and is subject to the chairman and the department head to the post input as far as the reprimand, public, private, dismissal, all those kind of things. If you include an employee in on something like this, then you've got an independent board that all of a sudden is going to be exercising that, and they.
And I don't mean to say I want employees included. I just want Sandy included. Not Sandy, but that position. It just, to me, if you have a code of ethics and you financial director.
Well, she would, I mean, if she did something inappropriate, there'd be other remedies. The district attorney would step in and there'd be a violation of the law.
That's more than an ethics problem.
Yeah, so,
Well,
let's
I'm
talk.
flexible there because I'm not worried about saying do anything on this anyway.
Yeah, let's think about it, and, y'all just give it some more thought, because I think y'all may have got it first of the week.
Yeah.
You didn't get it maybe put enough, and some of the more of this can be developed tomorrow, and then in the public hearing, y'all can make some whatever changes, that you wish to. But I don't know that I would want an ethics board having oversight on employees as far as, I mean, at the end of the day, they're the county employees, and y'all are the elected officials that should be taking the responsibility with.
I can live with that.
Action needs to be taken with the violation of that. But I'll find in each and every occurrence of an employee in here and, see what, how it pertains to employees. Now, y'all do have, this has been proposed to be in this Division 2, which is correct. Y'all have already got something on the books.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you're going to supplement, or not supplement, but replace.
Yes. I would think this
Makes
would,
sense, yeah.
depend on what we have.
Okay. So there may be provisions in what's already on the books that you may wish to replace.
Okay. I'll look at that too. Okay. That was the only thing I had on all this. I read through it pretty thoroughly now. Just a couple of typos in that one question, that's all I had. Any other discussion on this?
Revisit this one time,
Yes.
something just occurred to me. Section 3C1 on page 12, talks about prohibited alcohol on LJ Parker River. Alcohol is not prohibited on LJ River.
Oh, okay, we can correct that.
It's, the ordinance talks about being prohibited where commercial outfitting activity occurs, which to my knowledge is not going on.
We can correct that, that's not a problem. This is
It may be,
But if you mention LJ, you better reword that.
but y'all may need to consider that in the ordinance, because now
Eventually.
there may be an opening there.
But that was based on some citizen input. We don't only do it where the problems were, and not read ordinances.
Well, I will have LJ River removed.
Well, just-
We can always put it there.
Just change the wording to reflect the ordinance.
That's right, and that gentleman that voted down Mountain
Mountain Town,
was the one that,
and so we revised that ordinance to indicate it was only prohibited where commercial rafting activity occurs.
Okay, so that will be reworded to reflect our word.
Anyway, sorry about jumping around, but that
No, that's
occurred to me.
Okay. How would y'all feel about a 10-minute break? Even though we're close to the end. I'm close to mine, man.